There, we are live. Sorry, friends. Welcome, my darling. How are you?
Hello, I am good. How are you? Happy Monday.
Right? It's a Monday. Hey, but
Yeah,
it's good. We both have great weather, so we can't
I
complain.
know, right? Well, welcome everyone. This is February 9th. And welcome back to the show. We're so glad you're here. I am Coach Sherri, and I am a senior health and wellness coach and behavior change specialist. I'm also a National Academy of Sports Medicine certified nutrition coach. And I'm also just a person in her 50s who is walking the walk and talking the talk, right? So go ahead and introduce yourself, Becky.
I yes, welcome to all of those that are also listening to just the audio version. For those that don't know me, I am Becky Niles. I have been a coach for several years. I have been certified in the quantum biology space. I focus primarily on looking at things beyond just the nutrition side of things. I have founded the BNC Community, which brings Coach Sherri and Coach Sly into the community, as well as my own coaching platform, and created and founded, or as I like to say, architect the version of the aligned metabolism method, where I use different pillars to end up and target our health because it is beyond just nutrition, but there are other areas that are important as well. So I end up and orchestrate that all together, as well as sub coach for several other um, companies as well. So yeah, that is a little bit about myself. I am a coach, a macro nutrition consultant as well. So that is a little about me,
Absolutely. And a mom.
and a mom and a
And
wife,
a wife.
and
And a,
yeah, I'm
yeah,
I'm all of
and
the
all of the
above.
above, right? Yeah.
I work basically two full-time jobs, so I am
hmm
very busy and very passionate about what I do, especially in this space. So yeah, it is a second full-time job, but when you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, tonight we're going to talk about that sneaky Valentine crash, right? So why does your body rebel the week after Love Day? Now we do realize that we're talking we're talking days before, right? Because we want to give you just some good information going into Valentine's Day and kind of uh, this week leading up to it, how it has its own emotional and hormonal can't talk
It's a
and
Monday.
meta it is a Monday metabolic roller coaster. And if you know what's coming, you can support your body instead of getting blindsided by that post holiday slump. So we're going to break it down, and I'm going to let you start tonight, Becky.
Yeah. So there's definitely, instead of reacting after the fact, right? Like you said, we are hoping to prepare and lead up to, so that you are adaptable, so you build that resiliency, because we can't constantly outrun things, right? And I'm talking on various things there, but we have to be able to build this resiliency where maybe there are going to end up and be times that you fall off track, or you have things that you maybe shouldn't, and we're creating that sustainable approach where you get right back on, right? And part of that stability is, in the areas that we can create those non-negotiables. Now, as I said in the introduction, I focus beyond just the nutrition point. So I would always end up and recommend someone the week before really anchor into your circadian rhythm hard this week. Make sure you are getting sunrise and that light exposure daily, right? um there is so much that ends up and happens where, if you are also someone that is a slower metabolizer, or slower to wake up, I should say, and you kind of have that groggy effect, getting outside even for daybreak. I posted this on my Instagram and social media the other day, but getting outside for that daybreak and getting that initial signal grounding, even if it's cold, right? you're going to uptake that glucose into the muscles and into the cells. So really anchor and support the circadian rhythm. You will find that that creates more insulin sensitivity, appetite signaling, as well as even the stress tolerance. So what does that mean for Valentine's Day? Your body is able to handle those indulgences better, but it's also able to handle that willpower. When you don't have the cravings, I know Coach Sly talks about, the halt a lot, right? Are you actually hungry, hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? But also when you have those cravings or the peer pressure, right? If you are overly tired, you're going to end up and give in, right? You're going to give into that. Um, but yeah, so that would always be, my number one is really anchor in that circadian rhythm and proper sleep.
Absolutely. So I have a question for the audience. So put it in the chat. Do you feel more excited or more stressed the week before Valentine's? And it's good to identify that, right? Because we need to know. I mean, what's happening is your anticipation, right? It spikes dopamine and it's feel good, right? But
Mhm.
it also makes you a little more distracted and a little more reward seeking because that dopamine is wanting that. Like I said, it's the feel good hormone. It's like, oh my goodness, no, this is exciting. What are we going to do? And of course, you have social pressure. Um, what are you going to do? What do you have planned? What are you going to wear? And will it be special? And then that starts the stress response. And then even positive anticipation can sometimes overstimulate the nervous system as well. So that's why Becky was saying we start now. Get some grounding in, get some sunlight in, make it something you can not only just do this week, but from here on out, because uh, we want you to be able to stabilize that dopamine, right? So use your light movement, your walks and stretching. Um, increase self connection practices, journaling, grounding, touch, warmth, things like that, that um, helps you kind of get you into that pre Valentine's feeling, right?
Well, and also calming the nervous system. So
Yeah.
that's one of the areas that many people don't end up and look at. But it is, really huge, especially leading up to pre-celebration of doing breath work and not only the time outdoors, but reducing late night screen time, right? We've done multiple challenges in the BNC community, and that's one of the hardest things for a lot of people to do. Speaking about the dopamine, right? People want to sit there on their device and scroll leading up to bed or even laying in bed, and they try to end up and find all sorts of ways to end up and navigate around that. Oh, but I'm wearing my blue blockers. Oh, I'm doing this, or I have to do that type of thing. But really a regulated nervous system, you will notice your digestion improves, appetite control, right? So you're able to eat that actual meal. And then, okay, maybe if you end up, you want to have a dessert with your loved one or, your significant other, you're able to have a few bites and you're not, face deep in a chocolate cake, right? So that stress side of things turns that way that we end up when we look at that celebration from overdrive into more of a calm and keeps things balanced side. It also removes that mindset or the monkey brain, as I call it, in regards of scarcity, right? Oh, this time only comes, once a year, and I'm gonna end up and I'm not gonna be able to enjoy it. When you add that level of restriction or scarcity, the mind ends up and wants it more. And so it creates this hypervigilance in regards of awareness of more of a guilt side of things. But
Hmm.
when you remove that food drama, your nervous system really stays regulated. And, like I said, if you are able to end up and allow yourself permission to make that conscious choice, and then move on, get right back on it, right? Your celebration, whether it's a dinner out or whatever, it doesn't end up and break you. It's what you do after, right,
Right.
that ends up. So not only the leading up to, but are you leaving, Saturday and Saturday, or is Saturday turning into all of the next week? And so that's where this poor baseline signaling, if you can really start to, which hopefully if anyone, has listened to us for any length of time, they're already anchoring, a lot of this baseline side of things. But if you lead up to Saturday and you really focus on it, the hindsight is going to end up and be a better recovery.
Right. Well, and have you noticed that how the sugar creeps in, right? The treats start early. The Valentine candy bowls appear everywhere, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And of course, a lot of offices start that quote unquote just one piece cycle, right? Oh, one piece of candy won't hurt you. And then what happens is your blood sugar spikes, then your insulin surges, and then you're reactive, and your cravings, and you're irritable. And just a little couple tips on that is um, eat protein first at every meal, right? That's going to slow the glucose down when you always start with your protein first. Keep electrolytes on hand. You know why? Because a lot of times cravings are actually disguised as dehydration, and we forget that. And what your body's really telling you is, hey, I'm thirsty, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm dehydrated. So I don't know about you. You can't walk into any grocery store or any store you've seen Valentine's candy, that started what, a month ago? I mean,
Right
it's
after
been
Christmas.
yeah, yeah. So it's like everywhere you go, it's like there. And for some reason, you know, Valentine's has now become about sugar more than about your sweetheart.
Right. Well, and that's
Yeah.
just it. It's more sugar, more hyper
Hmm.
palatable foods, right? It's not just always, the box of chocolate. It's this hyper palatable food that hits, the sugar, the fat, and this whole reward pathway. And so that combination just really lights up the brain in a way that it temporarily, right?
Hmm.
It's empty calories, right? You're not getting nutrition, you're not getting any nutrient out of this food. You're It's just simply quieting your fullness. Well, what's going to end up and happen in an hour or two later, right? You're going to end up and be hungry again. And so one, because you create this rapid blood sugar rise, right? Which what happens, we create an insulin spike. So when, the blood sugar rises, the insulin spikes, and then you create this quick drop because again, it didn't have any substance or value to it, then you're hungry again, right? So it just
Hmm.
creates this whole roller coaster effect. And this is where when, we any of us three work with clients, we talk about that tight juncture. It's not that you don't want, your glucose to be responsive, but you don't want this, jagged line. And
Hmm.
when we get that, there's a lot of other things that end up and happen in that also, which our body will retain fluid, right? You can get inflammation. Um, the appetite, hunger, whatever you want to end up and call it, right? Those hormones, they get very, very noisy. They become
Hmm.
very forefront, and it's not as easy to be satiated with a meal. So it's not necessarily that your body is failing, it's the body's just reacting to what you're giving it. And then a lot of people also are unfortunately still turning to alcohol in this whole side of things too.
Yeah, yeah. So, question for the audience: are you already seeing, and how long have you been seeing the Valentine's candy, on the store shelves? Has anybody posted anything yet? Answers to our questions, Becky?
Not on my end. I haven't seen.
I would love to check mine, but I have been banned again. So,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
yeah. That's going to be a whole nother episode that we are going to delve into at some
Mhm.
point. But yeah, you can find me on X and Telegram right now, and but those are the two places I'm at. I am going to be starting a TikTok soon, and of course here in on the streaming platforms for the BNC. And by the way, did everyone know that we have a blog, Becky?
Right, we do. Let me end up and grab that link. The two of us end up a post. You put. I'll let you talk about yours while I'm grabbing the link because we have them release days that we end up when we release our blog post.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I don't even remember what I posted last week, to be honest with you. I just drew a blank. But I can tell you what's upcoming. I can give a teaser for Wednesday. So I've got it set to release Wednesday morning, this Wednesday morning. So it's at 9, 10, 11th. So February 11th. And it's, I won a contest. And so I kind of go into that contest on what I want. I won the grand prize. Like I'm getting boxes of stuff in right now, and
Really?
I'm doing videos and pictures, and we're going to try and have each person that joined this contest on. And so we can talk to each one of them individually, and I want to thank them in person as well. But yeah, look for that little teaser of a blog post. So you posted that, right, Becky?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All
Yep.
right. So go ahead.
Yeah. And I was just trying to end up and remember. Oh, mine was in regards of thyroid. I had stopped and think what I
Hmm.
posted. It was in regards of thyroid health because that's also the other part of my background that I did have Hashimoto's, so I get very passionate on the thyroid health, but also in regards of menopausal health too.
Absolutely. So what happens with the nervous system the week before, right? Because not only are you anticipating it, but we're getting inundated with social media and highlights of gifts and, dates and romance, and the comparison starts. And even if you're happy, the happy anticipation still can create a wired but tired state. And so, what is that doing to the nervous system, Becky?
So when you are dysregulation is the
Mm-hmm.
easiest term, right?
Yep.
When people are creating this celebration as a stimulation, Valentine's week or the week before, week after, right? You kind of led to that, but there's a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
that also the planning, the social energy, the late nights, even schedule shifts, all of that ends up and creates this issue where when you're in more of this sympathetic driven state, you're constantly go go go, right? You're in this fight flight, the cortisol rises, blood sugar, digestion kind of takes a back seat because the body is in adapting to this survival, right? Yes, it may end up to be temporary, but when we are constantly activated like this, the way that stress changes of how we end up with even processed food and digestion, um, insulin signaling, I can't even talk. Insulin signaling becomes less efficient, right? So that's why you'll end up and you'll see the swings, not only just the food, but the way that the body handles the food. Um, so you'll see those blood sugar, swings, digestion. We get bloated, we get puffy, we maybe don't handle the, microdose of food, right? If you end up and you have a bite here, a bite there, it's a lot different than the overconsumption.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's where people will get very inflamed and they're not sleeping real well, right? Anytime that our nervous system shifts in from this activation, we got to recalibrate it because um, you'll feel fatigue, right? You'll feel very tired. You'll feel low mood or mood swings because you are, really high. You have the dopamine, you have the pleasure, but then you end up, you come down. And so you're in this constant emotional swing. And many people with that can also feel very um, brain fog, you know, just kind of fuzzy, not clear thinking. Um, they'll also be kind of irritable when they feel that way. So many people interpret this kind of more of a crash, but really it's just the nervous system and creating this ripple effect. So when there are things that we can do during that time frame where, we're able to support our body. That's where breath work, tapping, we all three of us coaches end up and have, the touch points. We're able to end up and use those. You know, you don't need gadgets and gadgets, right? Just doing more movement so that your body uptakes that glucose. Um, Getting sleep, even adding maybe some resistance training, using those larger muscle groups, but really not looking at, I'm going to do this, so I need to punish myself, because
Mhm.
that's kind of getting into, a whole nother round or realm, I should say, of mental, we don't end up and create this cycle. I'm choosing
Yeah.
my words wisely because there's trigger words on certain platforms.
Mm.
Um, so, not getting into that ED world, if you will, where
Mhm.
you're creating these cycles.
Right, right. I mean, long exhales, and believe it or not, did you know humming helps down regulate? Warm showers. Limit your social media scrolling. Right. Um, dim your lights, turn them
Mhm.
off, get the red light on, put your blue blocking glasses on. Simple things, and you don't have to go spend thousands of dollars or hundreds of
Mhm.
dollars for blue blocking glasses. The one I'm wearing didn't cost that much, right? But does for the audience, ask yourself, does the Valentine content online make you feel inspired or pressured, right? So you need to know some answers to those questions. But did you know that February is the seasonal slump? Like, we're here, we're in it. Why? Because we still have less daylight, right? Which lowers the serotonin and lowers your motivation. Cold weather reduces that spontaneous movement. I won't tell you that it was, in the 80s yesterday and today. Although Becky did text me this weekend, she was sitting outside in a tank top, and she's like, and I said, "What'd you say? Something?"
Yeah, I said your weather come to visit me.
Yeah, and I said, "You're welcome." So I sent that Texas weather on up to her. But yeah, it was but being outside, I mean, we spent over half the day outside yesterday. And I'll be honest, I slept better than I normally do. And I sleep pretty good. But just being out there and getting the vitamin D and getting that light, without sunglasses on, was huge. But something you can do is get 10 to 20 minutes of morning light. If you can't get up for the sunrise, get outside as soon as you get up. Don't grab your phone, which we all do, right? And choose some gentle movements over, hitting it hard and doing intense workouts. I've been there, I've done that, and it backfired on me because of my type 2 diabetes, right? The body did not like when I got up at, 5 o'clock in the morning to hit it hard because it was already spiking more than it should. Um, so does February feel like the hardest month for your energy? Would you agree with that? As an audience, are you going, huh, maybe she's got a point? I don't know. So how do we we've talked about the different ways of kind of preventing the Valentine's crash, right? Protein and hydration, get an outdoor walk, the breath work, like Becky said, humming. Um, I know this past week I had a client and she was overstimulated, and we stopped and we did the box breathing. Like, in the middle of our sessions, and we didn't do it once, we did it several times. And I had her close her eyes, and we and I counted the box breathing for her so she didn't have to. And then I would ask her slower or faster, and she would tell me, and we would do it again. So it does work, right? And if nobody
Mhm,
knows what box breathing is, right, it's where you breathe in for the count of 4, and then you hold your breath for the count of 4, and then you breathe out slowly for the count of 4. And we're not talking 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
mhm,
We're talking 1, 2, 3, 4. And you keep it at that pace, and that's going to make a big difference. Another thing that I did with her too was to help her ground was, tell me what you're seeing.
mm,
Right, look around the room and tell me what you're seeing. And she actually had a hard time at first telling me because she was so overstimulated. But as we did the box breathing and stuff, then she was able to go, oh, window, curtains, couch. She was able to pick it up. So it does work. And we want to, you need to listen to your nervous system. It's giving you those cues, right?
mhm. Yeah, as a person ends up in that stuck state, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
That's one of the things that, I have realized in a lot of, and that's also where, even a vibration plate for someone that is
Mm,
feeling very low in energy or low in mood, even the vibration plate. And that's one of the things, I utilize. I have a cheaper one. It's definitely, not a high dollar, but um even to the point where my kids end up and asked to use it, right? But there's a difference in the way that we are supporting our nervous system during the day and how we are supporting the nervous system in the evening. And that's where, really creating those sleep protocols or those nighttime routines, like you said, they're perfect. Doing the box breathing or even extending that box breathing where,
mhm,
you're inhaling for the 4, but then you're holding and you're really, and breathe in through the nose because that does increase the nitric oxide too,
mhm,
but as you are exhaling, extend that exhale, and then, slowly breathe in again. But people underutilize a lot of this parasympathetic and they end up and they get stuck because they're
yeah,
constantly in this state of chronic overwhelm or chronic, stress, work, emotional, physical, however you end up and you want to look at it. And it's not, again, the body's not failing you, it's just it's trying to protect you. And the body
mhm,
has to really learn that when we slow down, we're not lazy. We're not, failing, right? So whether it's stress or pressure from others, really creating this so that your sleep improves, inflammation decreases, appetite and cravings will start to stabilize. And then, if you're looking for weight loss, the body is willing to release that, right? But otherwise, I've worked with several clients and even in clinical practice where people really get this resistance, whether it's
mhm.
insulin resistance, leptin resistance, weight loss resistance. This resistance occurs, right? Because they're in this stuck state.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing you can do, another tip is set a boundary
Mhm.
around being overstimulated. Turn on notifications, your do not disturb on your phone. Mine goes on every night at 9 o'clock, and it doesn't come off. Well, during the week, it comes off at 8. And then On the weekends, I have it even set later. So it's still on the weekends. It goes off at 9, do not disturb. And I've set it, I changed it recently to 10 o'clock on weekends because I don't, as soon as you hear that buzzing, right, on the phone or the ring, that's disruptive. So set a boundary, right? Um, a party. If you feel like saying no, say no. It's okay, right?
Mhm.
Um, but set at least one boundary. That's going to help. And as Becky said too, bedtime, right? And even if you start now and you work your way through Valentine's, try going to bed 30 minutes earlier, even if it's just to relax, right, in quiet. And that's where you can do the breathing and you can just lay there and relax. When is the last time you've done that for yourself?
Right. A
Mm.
lot of people end up and burn the candle at both ends, or they
Mm-hmm.
end up so exhausted because, they're just go, 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 or they're wired but tired that they then, by the time they do get to bed, it's, the latency aspect is they're they're so
Mm-hmm.
exhausted that they just crash and the body, doesn't get the proper signaling. And there's a lot of signaling that ends up and happens in a rhythm format, right? Whether it's cortisol and melatonin or even the leptin signaling to the hypothalamus at night has to happen when we have the quality of sleep, not the
Yeah.
necessarily just the quantity, but we have to be able to get that quality sleep.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, changing subjects for a second, what are you and your sweetheart doing for Valentine's, Miss Becky?
We will probably end up and just be at home.
Yep.
Valentine's for us is not, a big celebration or, anything along those lines. We've been, really focusing on getting family and even, friends together on the weekends and just enjoying a meal. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, that is more important. Than any holiday, gathering or makeshift holiday, right? Because I know, for instance, my husband ends up and loves me not just one day out of the year, but all the days. So it's we don't buy into the commercial side of things where, I have to get flowers and I have to get this and that. And I think in, the 21 years that we've been together, I've only maybe got flowers a handful of times from him.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not one of those cases where I expect or I require something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? I don't even know what the weather's supposed to be, but we may end up in grill again next weekend or just quiet night at home.
I love that. Yeah, we're the same. We don't buy into the commercial side. In fact, I told him decades ago, please do not spend money on flowers when they jack up the price just because of the what day it is. And quite honestly, I'd rather have a plant where I can, where it just doesn't die in a week and
Mhm.
shrivel up. So I would rather have plants or things like that. And we're kind of talking about prepping an area for a garden, but we need to start now with the kind of getting the soil ready and stuff like that. Like that's how romantic we are, but we're we're we're
But
we're beyond
again,
that.
it's that sustain
Yeah.
it's be that's sustainable, right? You're creating a garden because then you get the fruit of your labor, right?
Mhm.
You end up and you see that, like you said, unlike the flowers that end up and die, typically in a week or so,
Yeah.
right? You get the benefits of the plants. I look to my side because I have plants all over up here in the office, and I love my plants, but,
Mhm.
you
Yep.
know
Yeah. Yeah. And we live in our travel trailer, so things we don't have a place for it. It's very interesting. It's one of the things that I noticed that when we sold our house, we put everything, almost everything we owned in storage unit, and we're living in our travel trailer till we start building our house. it's amazing what you can live on less. And it's kind of
Mhm.
freeing. In fact, I know that once we do build a house and I start pulling everything out of storage, there's going to be a lot going bye bye because I've done almost 2 years now without it. And I'm starting to think, I don't even know. I don't even need that. It's kind of crazy, right? So things aren't as prevalent or necessity as what it
Yeah.
once was when I guess I was younger. But yeah, um,
Materialistic items.
yeah, definitely. So just kind of remember that your body isn't dramatic. It's telling you, it's responsive. It's telling you what's going on. And we've given you tips, right, that you can support yourself before that crash ever starts. And remember, you don't need to be perfect, right? That's the big thing in all of this is um, when you set the boundaries, you do the best that you can, but nobody is perfect, and we're not expecting you to be perfect, right?
Correct. Your metabolism will follow your nervous system, so we're not expecting perfection, we're just expecting progress.
Yes. Yeah. So if tonight's episode helped you understand your body a little bit better, or you plan to prevent that Valentine's crash before it hits, we ask that you take a moment to like this episode, subscribe to the podcast, drop a comment or review. Your engagement helps us. And the more people who are tired of extremes and are ready for real sustainable healing, we want to reach those people, right? So we'd love to hear from you. And we want to hear this week, what is one thing you're doing to help support your body before Love Day? So do post that.
Absolutely. And we will see you all next week. Have a
Absolutely.
wonderful evening.